Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Geometry. We're moving into Unit 1, and Unit 1 is going to be going into some basics into geometry and some stuff that you'll need that we'll end up covering. But today we're doing 1.1, and we're going to be talking about conditional statements. So we're looking at 1.1 and we're going to be looking at something called a conditional statement. Okay, so some key points that we're going to look at and some things that we're going to point out is we're going to identify what the hypothesis is, identify what a conclusion is, identify the truth value, and then also determine the converse. And then at the end, you guys are basically going to create your own conditional statement for your challenge question. Okay, so let's go and jump in this and look at example number 1 here. All right, so on example number 1, the statement says, if it rains outside, then I will take an umbrella. So the first thing that we want to look at when it's talking about a conditional statement, I want you guys to think of a conditional statement as a if-then statement. So anytime we say conditional statement, automatically it should pop in your brain. Okay, if this happens, then this happens. So if-then statement. So the first thing we're going to point out is specifically what is my hypothesis. The hypothesis is always the first part of the conditional, so comes after the if. So that means the hypothesis is going to be if it rains outside. So remember, the first part of your sentence is always going to be your hypothesis, okay? So the next thing we're going to look at is going to be your conclusion. So the conclusion is going to be what comes after the then. So right here, what comes after the then is always going to be your conclusion. So at the end of the sentence. So then I will take an umbrella. So boom. So if it rains outside is your hypothesis, your conclusion is what comes after the then, so that's my conclusion. So now when I'm talking about truth value, that means if it is true, that means everything about the sentence is going to be 100% true, okay? If it makes it false, then that means there is one thing about that sentence that's going to make it false, or one instance that's going to make it false, and so that's going to change your truth value. So what is going to be the truth value of if it rains outside, then I will take an umbrella, okay? So waking up in the morning, you see it's raining outside, I'm probably going to end up taking an umbrella. So if it rains outside, then I will take an umbrella. Well, what if somebody doesn't have an umbrella? Well, then also that would end up making it false, because if somebody doesn't have an umbrella, then they wouldn't take it because they don't have one. So automatically, if it rains outside, then I will take an umbrella. I'm going to tell you that truth value is going to be false, because that truth value is actually going to end up making it to where it's going to turn into a false conclusion. Okay? So let's jump over to example number 2. Okay, so look at example number 2. So it says, if my dog goes to the back door, then I will let him outside. So right now, first we're going to look at the hypothesis. Remember, the hypothesis always comes after the if. So automatically, if my dog goes to the back door, that's going to be my hypothesis. Okay, so I'm actually going to write that in here. So if my dog goes to the back door, then my conclusion is what comes after the hypothesis, which is going to be after the then. So this is going to be my conclusion. So then I will let him outside is going to be my conclusion. So whenever you're talking about my specific dog at my house, it's actually my wife's dog. Whenever that dog goes to the back door, I'm going to go ahead and let him out because it needs to go outside, because I'm not going to take the risk of Tilly pooping or peeing on the carpet. So if she goes to the back door and is sitting by the back door, I'm going to go and take that as a sign that she needs to go outside. So automatically, if my dog goes to the back door, then I will let out outside. I'm going to call that a truth value, because anytime they go to the back door, it's going to be true. So the truth value of that statement is going to be true, because every time that dog goes to the back door, I'm going to let him outside. It may not be the same for your dog if you have one, but whenever you're talking about my specific dog, I'm gonna let them out, okay? Let's jump to example number 3. All right, so on example number 3, our conditional statement, because it's an if-then statement, if my tire pressure is low, then I will add air to the tire, okay? So right now, we're actually gonna be looking at something called the converse. So whenever you read the word converse, I want you to think of the word flip. And what that means is I'm going to flip the hypothesis and conclusion. So right now, whenever I look at these, I know my hypothesis is going to be after the if, so my tire pressure is low, and the conclusion is going to come after the then. I will add air to the tire. So whenever I do the converse, that means I'm going to flip the conclusion and the hypothesis and basically put them in different spots. So I'm going to leave the if and then, and I'm going to flip it. So that means the converse of this sentence is going to be if I add air to my tire, then my tire pressure is low. So right now what I did was I took the hypothesis and the conclusion, I basically flipped it. So if I add air to my tire, then my tire pressure is low. So generally speaking, down here it wants to know the truth value of the converse. So generally speaking, if you're putting air in your tire, that primarily means that the tire pressure is already a little bit low, so you need to add a little bit more air. Because if you put too much air, it's going to pop, right? So I'm going to say the truth value of my converse is also going to be true in any instance there, okay? So now lastly, if you look in the bottom right, you actually have a challenge question, and I want you guys to go ahead and complete that on your own, and I just want you to go ahead and write your own conditional statement. Then I want you to write the converse of that. It literally can be any if-then statement. So if you guys have any questions, please raise that hand, holler at me, and let me know, and good luck.